Lighting for Profits, the #1 landscape lighting show in the world. Oh, yeah.
Welcome.
I have no idea what's going on, guys. This could be a major fiasco.
To Lighting for Profits, your #1 source for all things landscape lighting. Powered by Emery Allen. From lighting design, install, sales, and marketing.
And almost like, okay, is this where I get beat up in front of my friends? Like, what's going to happen?
We discuss everything you need to know to start and grow a successful landscape lighting business.
That's what I like.
Now, here is your host, Ryan Lee.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the #1 landscape lighting show in the world, Lighting for Profits, powered by Emery Allen. I'm Ryan Lee, your host, and we've got, like usual, an awesome show lined up. We got some things to get caught up on. Where have I been the last couple of weeks? And we've got an awesome guest joining us, so make sure to stick around and be part of the conversation. If you are here live with us, always make sure to say hello. I want to thank you guys for your support. Whether you are live on YouTube, Facebook, or listening to the podcast afterwards, just appreciate your support. I do warn all the guests, give them fair warning since this is a live show. Anything they say can and will be used against them. So try to make them really nervous right before we hit the go live button, you know? So thanks for being here, guys. As always, here to help motivate and educate, to help you dominate. I'm just sharing my experiences, and hopefully you guys can learn something from it. Most of the time, it's my mistakes that people learn from, but you know what? If I can help, then I feel good. So if you are watching from the Landscape Lighting Mastermind group, you have to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook so I can see and put your name there or something like that. It might be Alejandro. I don't know. That's who it's been the last couple of weeks, but say what's up in the comments if you're here. So my guest this week, guys, I'm excited about. It feels kind of like I don't know, self-promotion maybe, because it's actually the first ever coach that I hired for Landscape Lighting Secrets. And he is helping me grow my business in a major way. And so we're going to break down what he does here at Landscape Lighting Secrets, and why I feel like he's so valuable to small business owners, and specifically landscape lighting business owners. So what's up, Manny? What's up, Tom? Thanks for being here. Yeah, I will share a lot of mistakes, man. You know that. My guest is Dan Raker. He has owned many businesses and coached many business owners, CEOs, and things like that. So I've known him for almost a year now, going on a year in maybe 10 months, something like that. But he runs Circles of Leadership, and I'm excited to have him on. So make sure you stick around. It's going to be an awesome discussion. And he's rarely seen because he's not out on social media. He doesn't normally do podcasts. I don't even know how I got him to agree. I think it was just because I kept hassling him for months and months. So this is like, seeing a unicorn in the wild, right? So make sure you guys stick around for him. What's up, Ray? Thanks for being here. All right. So of course, I always want to thank Emery Allen for their sponsorship, for their partnership. They are doing what they can to help me grow the lighting industry. They're doing what they can. And super grateful for their support. You guys know that nothing hurts a quality landscape lighting install quite like flickering bulbs. Okay. You guys have seen this. In fact, I just replaced a light bulb in my fridge, and I got it off of Amazon. And talk about low CRI. I mean, you could tell as soon as I put it in, I'm like, oh man, it makes the food look like crap in there. But you know what we're talking about: yellow fringe around the perimeter of the beam spread, or bulbs that burn out after a few on and off cycles. Don't jeopardize your customer's experience by using a budget bulb. If you want to go out of your way to provide a world-class customer experience, choose Emery Allen. At the end of the day, it's what's on the inside that counts. Take advantage of Emery Allen's world-class customer service and 10% off your first order for new clients. All you need to do is email tomg@emeryallen.com to get more info. And remember, they do offer contractor pricing. So don't bother going to their website, because they're going to hook you up with some better pricing for Lighting for Profits listeners. Just email tomg@emeryallen.com and get your account set up today. And that's a good question. I don't know why I bought off Amazon. I guess I just assumed that you guys didn't do freezer bulbs, but can you send me a link? I want to order them immediately. There's actually 2. So I'll send you what I'm needing, because it really looks like crap. And I don't know. I'm cursed. Amazon is so easy to buy from. I buy stuff on there. Not as much as I used to, but it feels like it feels like an addiction. The addiction is real. So my apologies. But I need to, because I literally I put it in. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like crap. I almost just unscrewed it and left it dark like it was before. So what I want to do, guys, last week I did not have a show. I opted to not go live. I was actually down in Vegas for Lightfair, and Lightfair is a huge lighting show that's been put on for years and years and years. Been to it. This was my 4th time going, I think. And I was going to go live, but like every experience I've had in the past where I go live, not from my safe studio here, it screws up. Like I do something wrong, it doesn't work. There's just something bad. So I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna go live from Lightfair, but I want to give you just a quick recap on it. And some people have asked me, like, what's Lightfair? Do I need to go? Like, people want to be involved in industry stuff. And I would say my short answer is, listen, if you're just strictly a low voltage landscape lighting company, you're not missing anything out. Okay. There's Lightfair is huge. It was about half the size as it's been in the past. I think because of COVID, it went down, and then people haven't been coming back and stuff like that. But I mean, if you want to get into manufacturing, or you want to get into commercial or retail or interior lighting, it's a great place to go. But I just didn't see a lot of value. I went just to hang out. I had some clients there. I had some friends there, and I want to see what else is happening in the lighting world. And even if I didn't like some of the stuff that they did, I want to learn from it and try to be better in our industry, right? And so I don't think you missed too much, and you guys know I'm heavy on the business, on the sales, the marketing, and the pricing, right? And there, like I said, it's heavy on product. So if you wanted to, go learn product for interior, commercial, retail, anything like that, that's the place to be. I mean, you wouldn't want to miss that, because there's a lot of different manufacturers there and stuff like that. But, I personally don't think that if you're just doing a landscape lighting business, that's a show that you have to be at. And I'm not trying, I don't like to really talk trash on other industry things, but I think you could spend your time and money elsewhere and do just fine. So that's it. That's why, I mean, good thing I didn't go live from Lightfair, right? And that's really all I had to report on. So I want to talk about something before I have Dan on again. I'm going to have Dan Raker. He is the owner of Circles of Leadership. He's helping me out. He's been with Landscape Lighting Secrets now for going on, I think, around 10 months, somewhere around there, and has had huge impact on the success of people in my program. So I'm excited to have him on to share some of his insights. But before we do, if you guys are sports fans, you probably saw, actually, and you know what, Dan's from Tampa, so maybe I shouldn't be talking about this, but you guys probably saw the Tampa Bay Lightning get defeated over the weekend in the Stanley Cup Finals. And I'm actually not a huge hockey guy at all, but I'm a sports guy, right? So anytime there's the finals or playoffs or anything like that, I'll watch it, because it's usually good, right? And there's no NHL in Utah and stuff like that. So I just have never been a hockey guy. But the Tampa Bay Lightning had a chance to three-peat. They had a chance to win 3 years in a row, which, gosh, that's got to be, I don't know how many teams have done that or anything like that, but it's got to be extremely difficult in and of itself. So, congrats to them for at least having the opportunity. But the other night was Game 6, and they definitely got outplayed. And again, I don't know hockey well, but I could just tell they were getting outplayed. But the stat that the TV kept showing in the third period was that Tampa Bay, like after 10 minutes, like halfway through the third period, still had 0 shots. There's 0 shots, and then a few more minutes later, 0 shots. And finally they had 1 shot. And then a couple more minutes, they finally took 2 shots. And one of them was I don't even know if you call it a shot. I feel like I could have done that, right? And then they finally ended up pulling the goalie and rattled off a couple more shots. But by then it was too little too late. And the shot total ended up being something like 30-22 in favor of the Colorado Avalanche. And coincidentally, they won 2-1. And so it kind of made me wonder, makes you wonder, like, okay, what would have happened had the Tampa Bay Lightning shot some more shots? Like if you shoot 0 shots in the third period, like how are you going to come back from being down one? And ironically, I looked this up because I'd heard this quote before, but ironically, it's said to be Wayne Gretzky, which is an NHL superstar legend, that said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Here we are. The Lightning can't fire off more shots in the third period than they need to. And there's times in life and sports and business where, I'm sure where you don't have to take as many shots because you're just that good and proficient. But generally speaking, the team that takes more shots is gonna make more baskets, gonna make more goals, make more touchdowns, whatever it is, right? And the same happens to be true in business. And so I want to ask you guys, what shots are you guys taking today? If you're saying, hey, I want to win the game, but not taking any shots in the third period or as many shots as it takes to win, it's not going to get you anywhere. And I don't think it's any coincidence that, the team that took more shots in that game 6 ended up with the victory. And so you really can't expect to keep up with your competition if you are not hiring above average talent, let's say. Let's say if you're not investing in better materials and equipment, if you're not building a brand, if you're not hiring someone to answer your phones, which we talked about 2 weeks ago, if you're not investing time and money into marketing, right? And so these are all shots that you need to take if you want to level up. And the thing about taking shots is they're not guaranteed to go in, right? And most of us are human. Most of us, I think 99.9% of us are. We don't like to fail. We don't like to miss. We don't like to do stuff that's wrong. We like to be better and stuff like that. So we tend to seize up. And if we take a shot and miss, it's like, well, I'm not going to do that again. But you need to go in with the right mindset that not everything is going to work out all the time. And that's okay, right? You may hire the wrong person. It happens. I've done it a lot. So talking about things that we've done wrong, I've hired the wrong person more than once. Okay. I'm on my 3rd assistant now in like a 5-month period. Okay. You may not be able to keep the right person. You may buy something that just doesn't work. You may try a marketing strategy that flops. I mean, this is the reality of the situation. But in my experience, the people that end up pushing through and succeeding in the end are the ones that didn't give up, right? They understand that the 300 batting average is great in the major leagues. Making 2 out of 30 shot attempts will win a Stanley Cup. Okay, it happened on whenever that was, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, I don't remember. 30% 3-point percentage is going to get you an NBA championship, right? And get you that ring. So they understand it's a numbers game, right? And most of the time, I've found that most business owners are too short-sighted and will try something like direct mail is like a perfect example of this. Like, oh, I'm going to try direct mail, and you try it once, and like, crap, that was a waste of money. And that's because direct mail doesn't work when you just do it one time. It takes 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, right? And so most business owners are pretty short-sighted, and they only see something like the missed shot. They just see it as a missed opportunity, right? But in reality, they're not viewing it as a learning experience and a way to get better next time. So they stop taking shots, right? And it's because it was viewed as a mistake, when in reality, most of the time, it's not a mistake. We know that less shots equals less opportunities, which equals less success. So, I've heard, how about this? I've tried Google ads. Have you said that? That didn't work. Facebook ads, they didn't work. Direct mail didn't work. Tried networking with home builders, didn't work. I've heard all the excuses. I've heard all of them. And the funny thing is, I've tried all the same excuses myself over my career. But that's all they are, is just excuses. So get rid of them and start taking shots. Take more shots, get more opportunities, get more success. If you're on cruise control right now in your business, it's time to snap out and get ready, because winter is coming. And only those that are willing to take shots now are going to end up making it through. So that's my plea to you today. Take more shots, take more risks, and don't feel bad if it doesn't work out. again, I mean, the Colorado Avalanche, they shot 2 for 30 and they're Stanley Cup champions. So that's pretty awesome. All right, guys. I think it's time to figure out these buttons to get ready for our guest. Let me know if you guys are ready. I think I'm ready. All right, all right, all right. All right. What is up? Dan Raker, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Ryan. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Emery Allen, for hosting and pushing. Glad to be here.
Love it, man. I am so excited to have you on. You know a lot of people in the lighting industry already, just from working with us at Landscape Lighting Secrets. But you're about to be introduced to a lot more, and I know there's a lot of people out there that need your help. So, thanks for taking the time out of your day to be here.
You're welcome. And I love your analogy with the lightning. I was very heavily involved in marketing on paper and then in the internet before I started doing a lot of coaching. And depending on the format, it takes many, many exposures. The early days of the net, if you didn't get your ad out there between 6 and 8 times, nobody would ever click on it. And the same is true where if you had back cover of a magazine or whatever, it took a few months before people would click. And so, good analogy. You got to keep going. You got to keep trying. And really, I think the error that a lot of people make is, as you said, oh, I tried that. Didn't work. No, I want to know how many you tried. I want to know what you tracked. I want to know what kind of dashboard you're running on your marketing efforts, because otherwise, don't talk to me. It's not worth it. Why'd you spend the time doing that if you weren't going to be serious about trying to do it right?
Yeah, unfortunately, the best learning in my life has come from a bunch of failure. As you try it doesn't work, and then you're like, okay, well now I know what not to do, and you're one step closer. Whereas a lot of people are like, I ain't doing that again. I'm not even going to get close to that. So
but the instinct, I think, as you suggested, is to turn off earlier. It's like, oh, I tried that. I did it twice. I dropped 2 Sengen postcards. It's not going to work. Well, maybe you need to drop 9. Or you need to get your drip system in order or whatever. So, okay.
Hey, let me read your bio. I always forget to read these bios, but you've got a really good bio. And let me read this real quick. So Dan Raker began coaching and running leadership circles 25 years ago as an outgrowth of his serial entrepreneur career, which when he was called upon by colleagues to spread his wisdom on how he started 10 companies, sold 8, sank 1 a long time ago, still running 1. Dan's entrepreneurial career spanned tech, especially engineering, software, and hardware tools, market positioning, publishing, and more. He has authored a half a dozen books and published hundreds of additional books, newsletters, magazine titles, and a dozen web portals. He began his coaching career with work for Young Presidents Organization and subsequent work doing one-on-one coaching and facilitating leadership circles. Dan is an avid swimmer and gardener, has 3 married kids, and recently welcomed first grandchild. So congratulations, man, on 1, your first grandchild, and 2, having such an awesome career, man. I really am just so happy that you're like living the dream now, man. I love it.
Yeah, no, I had engineered for a long time to sell the last of my publishing companies and find some kind of soft landing that would take me where I want to go on into the sunset, and coaching and circles. It's just something I can keep doing and share that wisdom. And it's really fun to be working with people who bring their own skill sets, their own biases, their own cognitive biases. It's like, everything's working except this. And, well, you want to look in the mirror about that. Let's get to work. Let's find out why that part's not working. So
love it.
Yeah.
Well, your bio, before we get into kind of the coaching side, you owned, or you started 10 companies, sank 1, you said, still have 1, and then sold the others. What was the hardest part of building those?
Well, I think in the early years, the hardest part is getting out of your own way. If you are a dedicated business person and you have an idea, and it doesn't have to be a fresh idea. You don't have to have a unique idea. Sometimes it's easier if somebody else is doing it. Well, you can jump in and do it the same or do it a little bit better. So whether you've got a unique idea or you are just sort of willing to take that gamble and go in your market or your local or with your local twist, that's okay. But so often, especially if you are working on the confidence level to go out on your own, build your own business, hang your own shingle from where you may have been before, uh, probably one of the biggest stumbling blocks is get out of your own way. So just because you have an idea doesn't mean other people like it. Just because you think you know how to run people, but you've never done that before, get out of your own way. And I think this is one of the things I hear you preaching often, Ryan, which is, how can I get out of my business? Everybody's trying to get into business. How do I get out of my business? And it's one thing to start a business. It's another thing to run it. So I learned early on, and this is where one of those ones that I sang a long time ago, but I learned early on, I tend to start them better than I run them, or I tend to coach them. And I've had a career that kind of goes back and forth between consulting and helping and coaching others versus being in the game myself. And I think I became much more successful, especially when I decided to be in the game myself, when I treated myself like my own coaching client, building a board of advisors, building folks, listening to people, trying to surround myself with folks who are smarter or more capable in lots of areas than I am, and listening deeply. And part of what I do in coaching, I think, is mostly listening deeply. Being able to give people a mirror or reflection on what they're saying and what they're missing. So I think, the hardest part about running my own businesses was, hey, I know how to do that, or I can get excited about that, or, this is the way it should work. I try to ban the word should from my vocabulary a number of years ago, because nothing should work anyway. Just, let's get out there and find out what does work.
Well, it's super admirable because most people can't build one business and sell it, and you're able to do that multiple times. Is there any tips, like you mentioned, getting kind of building a board of advisors? Like, how can someone get out of their own way? Because we all are tempted to think that, well, we can't find someone better than us to do the
Right.
thing, but somehow you, like you said early on, you were like, no, like there are people that are better, faster, smarter, whatever it is, at these other things.
We had a couple circles today, and it came up, I think, 2 or 3 times of like, we were talking today a lot about pre-qualification of leads. Where and when and how do you spend time chasing somebody? Just because they called you doesn't mean they're a good piece of business. And what kind of things can you put them through? But, some of the folks in the group are really good salespeople. Some are really good field people. Just because you're a good salesperson doesn't mean you know how to run the organization. And so getting yourself to step back and say, fine, what are the things that you're doing that a salesperson probably could take and run further for you, using your guidelines. So I don't know if that's the answer to your question, Ryan, but it's a matter of being willing to look at what you do well, willing to especially look at what you don't do well, and get out of your own way.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, I tend to agree. I mean, I didn't do it by design at first. I just thought that being an entrepreneur literally was just working your ass off, and like, I was like, if you're working 80 hours, well, I'm going to work 90. Like I thought that was like that meant that I was more successful for some reason. I mean, it's idiotic, but that's what I thought. And then, at some point you hear something, read something, watch something, you're like, wait a minute, I don't have to do everything. Like and that's what I was doing. I was like, okay, well now I can hire someone to answer the phones. Surely they're going to be way better than me at answering the phones. Oh, I can hire someone to do installs. And I can hire someone to do admin. I could hire someone to do even sales. I thought for years that no one could sell more than me. And I just found out I was even wrong there too. It's like,
Well,
it's
and
crazy how hard-headed I was.
when you just run the numbers too, if you got somebody whose job it is to be dedicated to sales and they're doing that 40, 50 hours a week, how much time do you really have if you're running the company to run sales? So you might jump in, you might have an afternoon, you might, want to chase a particular client or group of clients and you're good at it, you can probably close the deal. But what are you doing with the other 36 hours a week because you're making payroll or running installs or ordering product or whatever? So there's, part of it is specialization if you can. And I think that's really, really hard in startup mode. When you're in startup mode and you believe in what you're doing, what is it more that you can do initially that comes easily? Well, I can stay up late and do more work. As you say, I can spend more hours, so I'll be successful. At some point, as you say, you get past that idea and you look to bring others on board who can do things better than you can and grow. And you asked, Ryan, what is it that allows you to build and sell companies? I think one of the things that a lot of folks who are starting businesses don't think about enough is what's the end game. I can go register a company name, I can buy a URL, I can put up a website, I can pay somebody to do SEO, or I can do it myself. So what? Where are you going? Where are you going to be? Where do you want to be in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years? And if you're not thinking about some of that from early on, one of those great phrases, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there.
Right. Love it.
So,
Now that is huge. I wish I would have heard that, about 12 years ago.
yeah.
That
So,
would have been nice. And, my perspective is totally different now, but then I find myself falling into the same traps. And because this is a startup, right? And that's when I reached out to you and was like, I need help. Like I did learn the hard way years ago that I can't do all this stuff. And I'm really good at certain things in even in landscape lighting secrets with helping people. And then there's other things just like, man, that's just not my thing. So to
right.
to find you and to be able to partner with you and have you run your expertise in helping people has been so valuable and very influential for a lot of everyone who's in one of the circles of leadership and landscape lighting secrets.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
No,
Thank
it's
you.
been awesome.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to transition? Or I don't really know the whole story about how you got and why you got into the coaching space.
Couple of different pieces fed that. 25, maybe closer to 30 years ago now, when it's easy to look back and put a label on it. I think I was going through my own midlife crisis, and there was a divorce in there. There was businesses growing too fast. There were a lot of different moving pieces, and I carved out some time to do a little work on myself. And I'm sitting at a workshop with a group of other people who were doing work on themselves in various stages in their lives. And I end up sitting across the lunch table from a guy, and we're looking at each other. It's like, where do we know each other from? And turns out we knew each other from common business. I was in computer graphics and publishing for a long time. This guy had a computer graphics software business. We sat on a couple of industry boards together, and he had sold his business. I had sold one by then, and we're start chatting about some of the work that we're doing, kind of personal growth and trying to figure out who we are and what we want to be in the next phase of our lives personally. And he says, so this is what I'm doing lately. I'm helping coach a bunch of people. I think you ought to come with me and try a few. So that was one influential piece. And we did that. He was tied in originally to Young Presidents Organization, which if you don't know about Young Presidents Organization or similar organizations like Vistage, I'm sorry, and others, there's C12 group, there's other local groups where, it does like what we're doing here, Ryan, where we put groups of entrepreneurs or other business owners or runners together and get them to share and become each other's outside board of advisors. So we developed a practice where we'd go into some of these groups that were, getting along, but we'd go in and they were not doing well, because often when you're working on business issues, it's not always the business issue that's keeping you or holding you back. So if the main issue is that, you're afraid of money, or you're afraid of your father who still owns 51%, or, you won't confront people that are not acting well in your company if you're not willing to lead. Often those things come from some personal issue. You did that because your dad yelled at you when you were little and you're not ready to fight back, or whatever it is. So when there's a personal issue that gets intertwined with a business leadership issue, that takes some teasing out. So I like to say that I've done enough psych training to be dangerous. I don't have a degree. I don't hang out a shingle. I don't say what I'm doing is counseling necessarily, but there's a lot of psychological aspects that play into business. So
Yeah.
did more training in that area and eventually started helping people. I like to say often help people at the intersection of where something personal is holding the business back.
Yeah.
So that was one path. But then as I started having a reputation for building and selling companies, other folks that I was working with, whether they be suppliers or customers or whatever, start approaching and say, I could use some help. Would you be willing to loan some time? And did that sort of ad hoc for a while and then said, you know what? This is another product, service, whatever that I have in my bag of tricks. And that's when I started doing that more one-on-one or with groups and renting myself out by the hour or by the group to help do that. And it helped me a lot because, it's becomes my own personal board of advisors. You got other folks who are struggling. Everybody, when someone brings an issue up in a group or in a one-on-one, it's like, hey, if you spot it, you got it. Everybody's got the same issues. You may have a different flavor of it. But when we're working in a group setting or working in one-on-one setting, so it's very helpful for me to then take some of what I was learning that way, bring it back to my own businesses, clean some of them up and sell them, start another one that I was very, directed about. I knew exactly what I wanted to do with that one after having made mistakes, as you say. You learn from a lot of your mistakes, and then you go from there.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I actually really appreciate your approach with more of like the psychology background because me, like, and you've probably seen this, like someone will ask a question and they're like, I'm struggling with this. I'm like, here's what you do. You just do this and this and this, which is totally wrong if in by the book. But some people actually appreciate me because they want to just be told step by step. And then others are like, dude, just chill. Like I'm just trying to talk this out. And so they really appreciate your approach. So I'm glad to have kind of a mixed method of approach inside Landscape Lighting Secrets.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important distinction. Not that you and I are all that different. I think there are people who want to be told what to do, but it's teach somebody to fish and they can catch their dinner anytime. So it's the idea of being able to gently shift them from tell me what to do, which is you probably already know what to do. Let's see if we can tease it out of you.
Yep. So, and I've seen that. I've seen it. People like they literally they start to answer it and they give more detail and stuff like that. Can we just break down for the people who are not familiar with a circle?
Mhm.
Can you just tell us what is a circle of leadership and how it works?
Sure. So the idea behind a circle of leadership is to bring together a group of leaders who are not in any way dependent on one another or looking to sell or market to one another. In fact, usually the written or unwritten law of a good circle is we don't solicit one another. So it works best when a circle has a group of people who trust one another and therefore are willing to be vulnerable with one another. And they're not asking for fixes. They're not trying to fix someone else. So if someone says, I'm having a really hard time this week, my spouse is freaking out that I haven't made it to any of my kids' soccer games in months. And, does that have something to do with your business or not? No, it has something to do with the way you run your life and your life runs your business or vice versa. And so at that point, are we in a situation where people trust one another and rather than blurt out sometimes, like you say, Ryan, well, here's the fix. I'll tell you what to do. No, it's like, well, what's important to you? How are you working? And where does this show up in the rest of your life? Is this how you run your employees? Is this how, so rather than statements, leadership circles often run best with questions. So if you can contain your own, like, oh, that guy's stupid, he should do this. And you can instead change that to a question that says, Ryan, why are you missing your kids' soccer games? Or how could you arrange your day better? What's in the way? Or what, once you start getting people to talk in a trusted way, I'm not here to fix you, I'm not here to blame you. Your method may be better than my method. I'm here to support you. And if the only skin in the game that I have in the circle is that I'm willing to be vulnerable with you, then we have a trust circle we have a board of advisors. We have folks that I can lean on. I trust when they do tell me to do something or look at a different approach, as opposed to, hey, I can fix that.
Yeah.
So that's what a circle is. And I think you've seen in the ones that I've been working with you on for the last 10 months or so, try to have a standard format so that if nothing else is going on, we make it around the circle in an hour and a half, and we get people to stretch and be truthful with how things are going. And I like to call it the OCSA method. You've heard me use that before. OCSA. Tell us your best opportunity. And sometimes that alone gets people to just pause for a moment and say, opportunity, I'm just so swamped trying to get inventory in or out of the warehouse. To say, no, tell us your biggest opportunity. And are you chasing it? And what are you doing about it? And how does that come into your life? Tell us your biggest success. This is often one of the hardest things, I think, for entrepreneurs, leaders, to be willing to, not that we're looking to have you blow your own horn or brag. What is the success that you're having? And can we then maybe pick it apart a little bit and find if there's elements, foundational pieces that we can use to build more success? So oftentimes people are just go, 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 go. And maybe at the end of the month, there's money in the checking account and they think that's a success. But no, really a success is I took these steps and it yielded something good. I stretched. I wasn't comfortable talking to some other referral partners, for example, but I did it and that was a success. And now I realize it's not hard to do. And so being able to identify some of your own successes. We also like to do what's your biggest challenge. Give us, don't tell me everything. Don't tell me the sky is falling. Tell me one or two things that you want to work on today, that's a challenge. And then accountability, OCSA, opportunity, challenge, success, accountability. Accountability is big in a group. What are you willing to commit to that gently as a group will hold you accountable for when we meet next time? So, you've been talking about hiring somebody, well, get on with it. Or you've been talking about building a dashboard. Well, get on with it. What's holding you back? We're gonna ask you in 2 weeks, did you do that? And if not, why not? And we can't reach through the screen. If we met in person, we could throw you through a paddle wheel, I suppose. But that's not the purpose. The idea is, what can we do to support you? And if you haven't done your accountability piece in a few weeks or meetings, what's that about? How can we hold you accountable? How can you hold yourself accountable? So those are the tools. Now, having said that, and we like to go around the circle and make it sometimes, we start going around and someone's got an issue that's popping. I'm having trouble with blah, 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 blah. Okay. If you spot it, you got it. Someone else in the circle probably has had something similar. So often, frequently, once the trust is built, we'll break from the standard pattern and we'll go do a deeper dive. We'll try to dig into something like, hey, I'm having trouble with hiring. I'm having trouble with keeping people or retention or morale. And so then you might go around the circle and tell us what you're doing about that. Tell us what you're doing about that. What did you learn last time? So by sharing our experiences, we can not be in a rigid format, but we can begin to help each other. And then a third way we do it, so sometimes we just go around, we get people talking with the OCSA formula. Sometimes we'll dig into somebody's issue more deeply. And then when the group's built enough trust, we'll start to introduce some themes. So some themes in the landscape lighting secrets circles in the last few months. Last week, we've been working a lot on pre-qualification. We're building a master list, if you will, of best practices on, why bother to return somebody's call? Or how do we know if they're worth returning their call? What are the pre-qualification steps? We've done some deep dives on maintenance contracts, maintenance flow of cash. We've done some deep dives on CRM environments, other tools. So sharing our wisdom. I use this system. I love it because. Okay, I use that system. I love it because of this other thing. I wish that both of them would do both. How do we reconcile that? So those are the three elements. So we got a format. Sometimes we do, take somebody's issue and go deep. And sometimes we'll do a theme.
Love it. Well, there's so many benefits to it. And like I said, I feel like I'm benefiting from having you here tremendously because I'm not trying to just I didn't try to build like a program that just gives some people help in one area. My goal is to really help people replace themselves in business. And it's just not possible unless you're having these frequent meetings, unless you have this board of advisors. And I know when I was running my lighting business, I had my brother as my partner, but I still felt like I was on an island. And there was certain things it's like I didn't even feel comfortable sharing with my brother. I didn't feel comfortable sharing with my spouse. I didn't, there's just, I didn't want to tell my employees, certain fears like, what if this, what if that? And that's to me the biggest, at least for me. I know everyone's got different things, but I love the fact that a circle has that element of trust and vulnerability to be to where you can just open it up and be like, guys, should I, what do I do? Like, I don't even know if I'm doing this the right way.
Right.
Because
Right.
almost every entrepreneur has that feeling. We're on our own and we're just like, man, can I bounce an idea off you? And that's such a powerful tool.
Right. And I want to add one other piece because I didn't say it earlier. One other really important element of the circles is confidentiality. And we talk about it, we talk about it again, we talk about it again. And, people get big ahas in the group. So again, if you spot it, you got it. Or if someone else is working on an issue, you know that you've got parts of that as well. And we work really hard on making sure that the confidentiality is top of mind all the time. So even if you have a business partner or you've got a spouse or it's important that you find a way to take what you learn in the circles and use it without violating confidentiality. Thanks, Robbie, for your comment up on the screen. The idea is, for example, someone is willing to be vulnerable and share that they're having a really hard time. Maybe they're going through a divorce. And so it's affecting their productivity. It's affecting their ability to think straight. It might be affecting their finances. It might be affecting ownership issues. And so in order to be able to actually help somebody and work together to solve or come up with new ideas and approaches to these things, they have to be able to share those things knowing that it's not going to get back to their, wife's divorce attorney or their husband's divorce attorney or whatever it might be. And so we also use some tools to say, look, you're going to be tempted to share some things that you learned here in Circle with your business partner or your vice president or your this or your that. Practice as soon as you hang up from a Zoom call of a Circle of this is what I learned, not this is who I learned it from. So we're not going to say, oh, Ryan's in deep crap because of what's going on in his marriage. He's probably going to lose his business. We're not going to share that. We are going to share, one of the guys is having some problems with the way their business is structured and ownership wise. And because of some new challenges in their personal life, he's at risk of losing the business. And so I have learned that I need to go back and add these clauses to my buy-sell agreement or to how I share and what I do. So confidentiality is really a key pillar of the circles.
Yep, I like that. It makes sure that trust is there all the time and people can be vulnerable. So I think you've done a great job on that. We've got also our other coach who's named Dan, and
Yes.
he's you've mentored him and trained him and stuff as well. So it's been fun to see the circles come together. The first couple meetings are like a little awkward because it's like, who are these people, whatever. But they're starting to get to know each other, and that trust is building, and that vulnerability is happening. And I think that's just going to be such a powerful opportunity for these people.
So, and I think it's important to mention what you just said about sometimes new groups come together and they don't always gel. There might be some folks who have conflicts of, whether they be personalities or in this case, geographies or styles or whatever. And that's often really good fodder for a meeting. Well, why do you feel that way? You barely know Ryan. Why are you hassling him? Or what what is it? What can we learn from about you and what can you take back to your business? Sometimes they just don't work. Sometimes people are not ready. I know we have a couple of different levels of group. Ryan, you've done a really good job of separating geography. Often when we put circles together that are not necessarily the same topic, we'll put a circle together, but we'll make sure we don't have two competing bankers or two competing realtors or two competing retailers or something like that. In this case, we're doing it mostly by geography and size. But sometimes people are just not ready, especially in the younger, newer groups. Sometimes it's hard if you're still out, working from your truck 3/4 of the time. It's hard to take a step back and think about working on your business as opposed to working in your business. And sometimes it's just a maturity level. We've got some young groups that are like that, and we've got some old groups of like, hey, all right, we already get that. Let's go deeper on something new that we didn't know about.
Yeah, 100%. Are there, obviously maintaining confidentiality, but are there some wins that you could share that you've seen with some of the circles? Even if it's just general, like, man, they've really gone from this to this, or it could be hiring, it could be just any wins that you could share.
Um, I think a couple come to mind. Some are around personnel and hiring. It's been a tough environment for the last couple of years to get new people, retain old people, and a lot of that comes down to, what are you really looking for? Have you been clear about what you need people-wise and where you're getting them? I think one thing that's come up, we've had discussions over the last 9 or 10 months about supply chain stuff, just spread out. Stuff's in a container on the way from China, or it's here or there, or costs have changed or whatever. But introducing the notion of, if you're not running your recruiting effort similar to the way that you are running supply chain control, then you're missing the boat. You wouldn't be caught with only one wire supplier, and especially in times like these. So you've got 2 or 3, you have connections with different distributors. Well, don't tell me that you tried Indeed and it didn't work and you don't have another place to go, or you tried Facebook Marketplace to hire somebody and it was crappy. You got to be doing all those things, and you've got to be working with the technical schools, and you've got to be working with your local chamber of commerce. And for workforce development activity, you need 3, 4, 5 sources like you do for wire. So I think that's been something that's emerged successfully from some of the groups.
Cool. What about challenges? Anything that you're seeing a common theme with challenges in the lighting industry or in the circles?
I think one of the biggest challenges that has come up in the last few months is that folks who have come into landscape lighting from some other place in their life, maybe, had nothing to do with doing field or home commercial or home service work, or, they came from a corporate environment, or maybe, and I think, Ryan, you've done a good job of opening people's eyes to opportunities for landscape lighting, but, maybe they've come from pressure washing, or they've come from this or that. And so they've got this, well, it worked over here, why doesn't it work over there? And the businesses are different. And so I think there's a lot of folks out there who have somewhat successful or exciting holiday lighting businesses, for example. And one of the things that they are seeking in this program is, I hate the fact that I don't ever get a holiday myself. I don't have November, December, and it's crazy and it's nuts, and I have to hire people and then let them go and whatever. So I want to spread that out. And yet, if they're still used to making a ton of money and having people just be thrilled that you're helping them with their holiday lighting, to either let that go or set it aside, or sometimes even make decisions that are maybe not in the best interest of your holiday lighting while you're trying to build your landscape lighting, those are real challenges. And that's part of getting out of your own way. It's just, I've got the crews, they're busy. We're doing holiday lighting, we're doing put up, we're doing takedown, we're doing, okay, what are you doing about landscape lighting? That's why we're here, isn't it?
Yeah. No, and I mean, it's tough. It's, depending on where you're at in the country, will dictate, whether you're going to be more heavy on Christmas lighting potentially versus landscape lighting. And people know, like, there's so much money and demand in Christmas lighting that it's just, they're like, man, I can't, I have to do it. Like, they don't want to, because they remember last year working those crazy weeks.
I think
But
we need to come up with a gray hair index or something like that. Of like how many people are if your business mix is more than 50% holiday lighting, how many gray hairs do you have? So
it,
how many divorces do you
the ratio grows quickly. But
So
it's like a drug that people can't quit. Like, I don't know of anybody, maybe except for myself, that has given up on Christmas lights because the
right.
money's so good.
Another challenge that I think is common here and in general on folks who are growing small to mid-sized to larger businesses is there's part of it again is loosely under getting out of your own way, but the confidence. In other words, I think a lot of people on this call or others that you have done know that one of our members recently, landed an $800,000 job, and deserved it, did it right, is doing it right, is going to make a ton of money, is doing whatever. Um, but the confidence level, I'm not saying this guy in particular, but the confidence level saying, wow, can I do that? Can I sort of shift gears or chase? Got one member who, after listening to a bunch of sales discussions, stopped everybody and said, I don't do it like any of you other guys do it. I only chase whales. I don't really, everybody's empowered in the organization to sell. We drive around town, we look for opportunities, we track them down, and we're only looking for 50 or 100 or $150,000 minimum jobs. And it's like everybody's saying, well, wait a minute, what are you doing in between times? There are no in between times because that's what we do.
Right.
So, getting out of your own way or your own mindset of what I'm supposed to do versus what is working. So,
Yeah, I love it. Well said. So how is a circle? I don't know if it's more, I mean, I don't know if it's more effective. Maybe it is. I think it depends on the perspective, but how can a circle be more effective than one-on-one coaching?
oh, I think there's a place for both. There are some things that once, if there really is sort of a personal issue that's dogging things, um, then you can only take that so far sometimes in a circle, and you may need some one-on-one coaching to dive a little deeper into a personal issue. So self-confidence, sometimes you can only get it so far, and you trust your group and the group is cheering you on. But if it is a psychological, I don't want to say flaw, a hole, a side of you that needs some deeper work, then sometimes that's a more of a one-on-one kind of thing. Um, but for the most part, if you build the circle right, I was personally part of a circle for 22 years, and we met every Tuesday for 2.5 hours. And at that point, somebody asked me once, what's that like to be working with somebody or a group of people for 20 years? And the phrase that we had come up with is that we'd become midwives for each other's lives. It's like, that long you go through business stuff, you go through personal stuff, you go through, should we have a third kid stuff? Should we, all kinds of stuff that goes when you've got a group that's that small. And some of that's only really possible in a group setting. If somebody brings an issue and there's enough collective memory to say, Ryan, didn't you bring that issue 2 years ago? Come on,
Right.
what'd you do about it? Let's get on with it.
Thought
So,
this was resolved. And what's
yeah,
cool is I see people now, uh, I hear them talking about calling each other, texting each other. Like it's
right,
moved. It's not just the structured,
right,
90-minute call. Like it's moved beyond that, which is awesome.
yeah,
Because that means that there is a real element of friendship, trust, and vulnerability there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's that's a good question about what's the difference between one-on-one and circles. There's a place for both.
Yeah. Um,
And I think also there's sometimes when a business is or a person is going through a transition that, again, if you spot it, you got it. Everybody can learn from it. But I've been involved in the last couple of years, especially in a lot of mergers, acquisitions, divestitures, um, and sometimes while the group can learn a lot from what somebody's going through if they're trying to buy something or sell something or whatever, it can take up a lot of time, and that's usually more one-on-one kind of activity. to help get that set.
Gotcha. So maybe the group coaching is more like the 90% business strategies, things that they're gonna maintain the same. That's great for
Right.
group because now you have, 7 to 10 people sharing things that are ahead and behind you, and you can get different perspectives. But when you need that one-on-one stuff, which is like personal, either like you said, personal development, or for like an actual one-off that not the whole group is going through at that time.
Right. That's right. That's right.
Gotcha.
And there's a lot of stuff that goes on. I think generically, for example, making an acquisition, buying the group in the next town over or the next state over or whatever. There's a lot of reasons to do that. For what's your personal growth strategy, where you're going, what are you comfortable with, risk wise, dollar wise, bank wise, commitment wise. But there's new pieces, I think, in the last couple of years when the supply chain of personnel, being able to hire another good sales guy or two more crew leads or something like that, it's perhaps easier right now to buy two more crews than to grow them. It's not a generic statement. It's not a definitive, everybody should go do that. But, if you're running into situations that are bound by people limitations, well, then go find the best people and bring them on board. And if that means you got to buy them or find somebody who's shutting down and you can pick up their two or three best people, there's a lot of acquisition activity going on right now just because the people. Sure, I want your business, I want your maintenance contracts, I want your this or that, but I want your foreman. So I'm going to buy your company.
That's what's awesome about the group element, though, is because if you're not in that group, most of the time, I don't think people are talking about mergers, acquisitions, all that, just on their own. So then you hear that and you're like, wait a minute, that's a possibility. Dan,
Oh, absolutely.
you're telling
I
me
know.
I can go buy a company in my area? Wait, I
Yeah.
can merge with someone? Wait, I didn't even know that was a possibility. So it really opens up the possibilities.
Yeah, really opens up the possibilities. And I think it's part of, there's no one magic question or magic answer about what you should do or how you should do it or when you should do it. But I think, as I said before, if you don't have a plan, my plan is to get it up to $5 million, throwing off $1.5 million a year, and then sell it. Okay, that's a plan. How are we doing every day, every month, every year to get us towards that plan?
Love it.
Um,
All right, man. Well, is there anything you want to share? Final words of wisdom, tips with the audience?
Get in a circle. Get in one-on-one if you like, but get in a circle. And let your hair down a little bit, put some skin in the game, I like to say, and share some vulnerabilities. And I think it will pay back double, triple, who knows what that formula is. But you'll feel better about yourself. You'll feel better about your business. You'll feel better about trusting in folks that work with you and in your own personal circles. And you'll make some good buddies.
Great. Well, there's a couple ways to get in a circle. One is Landscape Lighting Secrets. You join Landscape Lighting Secrets, you get Circles of Leadership for free,
There you go.
basically, right?
Yep.
And then the other option would be to just reach out to you personally. So how do people get a
I've
hold
got
of
a
you?
half a dozen other circles running, and if you're of a size and shape that wants to fit, would not be all landscape lighting, there's always room to put somebody in a good business development group.
Okay. And it is best to go to your website or email. How do they get a hold
Yeah,
of
Dan Raker at Circles of Leadership. That works.
you?
That's a
Okay,
good
cool.
way. Or call your buddy Ryan and say, how do I track that guy down?
Sounds good. We need to set up an affiliate commission.
There you
No,
go.
I would be glad to introduce you. Dan's a great guy. Like I said, he's been so phenomenal in our program, and I feel like we're just even still scratching the surface. We've got a lot planned, and we're learning as we go what things people like, what they don't like, and everything else.
Right.
So,
And I think, Ryan, one thing I want to make sure we get in for a moment here. Circles take time to mature. And so the real value of, I think, a program like Circles of Leadership as a component of what you're offering at Landscape Lighting Secrets is that they really do grow and benefit you more and more over time.
yep, no, big time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sounds good, guys. If you want more Circles of Leadership, just email Dan Raker at circlesofleadership.com or just join Landscape Lighting Secrets and get hooked up,
There
So,
you go.
all right, man. Really appreciate you coming on here. And I guess I'm going to see you next month.
Yeah.
At the,
Thanks for the opportunity. I'll see you in Utah in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Looking forward to that. That's gonna be a lot of
I've
fun.
been promised four-wheelers in the mountains, right?
You know it. It's gonna be quite phenomenal. It's gonna be quite the experience. So looking forward to having you here and being part of it.
Okay.
All right, guys.
For profit.
You guys have a good week. And don't forget to go email tomg@emeryallen.com. Get 10% off your first order. All right, Dan, you have a good one. We'll talk to you next time. All right.
All right. Take care.